Good morning to Mr. Vinod. Today we are going to present our business law group assignment. Now I am going to introduce my group member, starting from myself. I am T. Shu Wen.
I am Joanne Tan Jie-ying.
My name is Ko Wei-ying.
My name is Li Jingxi.
My name is Li Kai-sing.
And this is our overall table of contents.
The presentation focused on two landmark defamation cases in Malaysia that involve digital communication platforms. The first case, Datuk Mei Peng, Choi Manson, or RS versus Tan Pei Pei, involved a defamatory email sent by a former member of the Cultural House Buddhist Association. The email accused senior members of mismanagement and was widely circulated after the defendant encouraged recipients to spread its contents. Next. In this first case, the plaintiff were Dato' Mei Peng, the chairperson of Cultural House, along with two other senior members of the association. They brought the defamation suit against Tan Pei Pei, a former member who authorized and circulated the harmful email. Next, I transfer to Tishu.
So now I am going to present the fact of the first case. The defendant Tan Pei Pei, who was formerly a Kechara member, emailed 4 recipients, including individuals connected to Kechara. In her email, the defendant made several allegations. In her email, the defendant made several allegations against the plaintiff, accusing them for mismanagement and misconduct within the association. She explicitly encouraged the recipients to disseminate the email's contents widely, stating, "Please read and spread this content as wide as possible." The plaintiff contended that the email was defamatory, as it contained false statements that harmed their personal and professional reputations. They argued that the defendant's allegations were baseless and had caused them significant distress and embarrassment. The defendant tried to claim that the email was sent just to the 4 people listed in it, but they did not dispute that the allegations were defamatory. Nonetheless, the court determined that the email was written with the public in mind and was meant to be widely distributed. The defendant had to demonstrate limited publication, which she was unable to do so. Hence, the court ruled that such online distribution was assumed to be extensive publishing. Consequently, the High Court awarded the plaintiffs 80,000 ringgit in general damages. Next, let's talk about the main legal issues in this case, which is cyber defamation. Cyber defamation refers to disparaging someone by damaging their reputation and public image via internet by posting false and misleading information about the victim on publicly accessible platforms such as social media. In this case, the defendant claimed that the email was only sent to 4 individuals, but the court found that the defendant had encouraged further circulation by urging the recipients to spread the content widely. Hence, the court presumed wide dissemination and awarded damages since the defendants did not prove limited circulation.
In the second case, Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad Nordin versus Eric Posen, centered around the article published on Isma Web falsely portraying Posen, a human rights lawyer, as an anti-Islam and a foreign agent. Both cases underline how defamatory statements made online and quickly spread and cause serious reputational damage. Next. In the second case, the plaintiff was Eric Posen, a well-known lawyer and the executive director of Lawyers for Liberty. He filed a suit against Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad Nordin as a member of ISMA who was associated with the publication of a defamatory article on ISMA Web. In both cases, the plaintiff was public-facing figures seeking to protect their reputations from serious online accusations. Next.
Now let's talk about the facts of the second case. The disagreement started when the article titled "Do Not Let Erik Poulsen Be Free Without Trial" published on ISMA's website, which generated a lot of debate and went viral on social media, reaching a large audience. The plaintiff claimed that the article contained defamatory statements against him by falsely portraying him as a fraudster and a liar, accusing him of inciting hatred against Islam and misleading the public about the religion. Also, the statement claimed that he was funded and supported by foreign entities, implying that he was a foreign agent. According to the plaintiff, who is a human rights lawyer, these statements damages his professional reputation and personal integrity. The Court of Appeal found that the statements were obviously defamatory since they were meant to stir resentment and hostility amongst Malaysia's multi-ethnic and multi-religious populace. Furthermore, the plaintiff's reputation, professional standing, and safety could all be seriously harmed by the remarks' inaccurate portrayal of him as anti-Islamic. Hence, the Court of Appeal gave the plaintiff 100,000 ringgit in damages. The first legal issues in this case were false religious accusation. Since religion is a sensitive issue in Malaysia, defamatory statement that touch on religion and race is treated with greater legal seriousness. In this case, the falsely labeled as anti-Islam can be highly defamatory, as it can lead to several populational consequences to the plaintiff. The second legal issue is the defendant intended to use the defense of justification and fair comment. Justification is a valid defense when the defendant proves that the defamatory statements is true. However, in this case, the defendant did not have any evidence that the plaintiff was actually anti-Islamic. Hence, the defense was failed. On the other hand, fair comment allows the freedom of expressing opinions about public figures based on true facts. However, the statement of Erik Poulsen is a fraud, liar, and anti-Islam is not a mere opinion. Hence, the defense was also failed. In conclusion, this case reinforced that the defendants cannot escape liability by simply claiming that statements were opinions or beliefs, where they must prove that the statements were based on true facts.
Next, I will present the principle of law. The key legal principle in both cases revolve around the concept of online defamation and the presumption of wide publication. In Datuk Mei Peng versus Tan Pei Pei, the court emphasized that digital messages, like emails, are presumed to be widely published, especially when the recipients are encouraged to spread the content. The burden of proof shifted to the defendant to prove limited circulation, which Tan Pei Pei failed to do. Similarly, in Muhammad Hafiz versus Erik Poulsen, the court recognized that online articles posted on public websites could severely harm reputations, particularly when involving sensitive topics such as religion. The defense of justification and fair comment was rejected due to lack of evidence and the factual nature of the defamatory statements. These cases demonstrate how Malaysian courts are adapting traditional defamation principles to suit the realities of digital communication. Next, I will transfer to Koh Wei Ying.
Thank you, Soshma. Thank Joanne and Shuwen. I will be continue the presentation with the next part is analysis of referred case law. So the supporting case that I chose is Muhyiddin Yassin with Lim Guan Yin 2024 MLJU 2904. So in this case, I have 5 parts on to present. So the first one is the breakout of the case. I will explain how the case happened. And the following is supporting cases used by plaintiff in the court and defenses used by defendant in the court and judgment of the court and the conclusion. So next part, next slide. So the first part is a breakout of the cases. So in March 2023, Muhyiddin posted a series of statements on Facebook accusing former Finance Minister Lee Kuan Yew of financial mismanagement and corruption. And this allegation spread on social media, prompting Lee Kuan Yew to file a defamation lawsuit, claiming that the allegations were false and damaged his reputation. Next slide, please. So the next is supporting case used by Lee Kuan Yew. So these 4 cases all is a Malaysia defamation case. Okay, so these 4 cases were mentioned during the court to support him and showing that defamation is actionable. Next slide. Thank you. So next is defenses used by defendant. So Muhyiddin attempted to raise 2 substantive defenses, but both were rejected by the court because it's not evident to support his say. So the first defenses is justification. Okay, he tried to argue that what he said when he accused Lee Kuan Yew of canceling the tax exemption status of Yayasan al-Bukhari were true, but this defense was later rejected by the court because there are no substantial evidence to support his claim. So this defense will be rejected. Another defense is the fair comment. He claimed that his statement in the Facebook were merely options about matters of public interest. But however, the court ruled that his words were expressed in the form of fact. It's not the subjective opinion. So these 2 defense will be rejected by the court. Okay, so next is judgment of the court. So the High Court ruled in favor of Lee Kuan Yew, awarding him Rm 1.35 million in damages. But Muhyiddin was ordering to pay Rm 1.05 million in general damages and Rm 115,000 in aggravated damages and another 115,000 in exemplary damages and plus 50,000 in costs. Lastly, he must also retract the relevant statement in Facebook and be refrained for publishing it again. So the last part for me is conclusion. So in this conclusion, this case showing that Malaysian law is taking a defamation over the internet more seriously. The court maintained the online statement must play the same role as the conventional media. So this case also play an important precedent for future internet defamation cases and help to ensure that people are responsible for what they say, whatever they say. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So now is the judgment of the court for the case of Dato' Mei Peng and Chong Mai Sum and 2 others versus Tan Pei Pei, 2018. The court decision in this case was the plaintiffs, which is Dato' Mei Peng and Chong Mai Sum and 2 plaintiffs, won the case, and the defendant Tan Pei Pei lost the case. The core issues in this case was the defendant Tan Pei Pei sent out an email containing highly defamatory statement about the plaintiffs, seriously damaging their reputation and goodwill. Next. That's because the email was sent through the internet. The court highlighted that online content is presumed to be widely disseminated, referring to the case like Tan Ah Hong versus CTOS. The court adopts the principle of presumption of publication, meaning that once something is sent online, it is presumed to have been shared publicly, unless the defendant can prove otherwise. In this case, the defendant could not prove the email had limited exposure. In fact, she intentionally asked others to spread the email, which further worsened the harm to the plaintiffs. As a result, the court rules in favor of plaintiffs and order the defendant to pay 18,000 ringgit in general damages, 5% annual interest until full payment, and 10,000 ringgit in legal costs.
Next is the judgment of Case 2, Mohammed Hafiz Mohammed Nordin versus Eric Paulson and another appeal. In the decision of this case, the plaintiff, Eric Paulson, has won the case and the defendant, Mohammed Hafiz, lost the case. Eric Paulson sued Mohammed Hafiz because he had published defamatory statement in an article on the website. And this caused damage to the plaintiff, Eric Paulson's reputation and ruined his name. Next. The High Court first decided that Eric Paulson didn't prove the statement and hurt his reputation. Eric Paulson couldn't show enough evidence that his image had been harmed. The court rejected the defendant's defense on fair comment, saying the comments were not based on fact or legal opinions. However, the Court of Appeal disagreed with the High Court and ruled in favor of Eric Paulson. The court said the statement was defamatory because it was insulting and likely to cause hatred among Malaysian religious and ethnic groups. It said the statement made the plaintiff look like a fraud and an anti-Islamic that funded by foreign countries. The court also said that the fair comment defense didn't work because the statement was not based on fact and or fair opinion. In the end, the court ordered Mohammed Hafiz to pay 100,000 in damage, return the deposit, and pay 10,000 in global costs. Next.
That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.